Yeah, we living in a world where the rules don't apply. They say we gotta follow, but we ready to fly. System got us boxed in, trying to keep us small. But we rise like the phoenix, we ain't scared to brawl. They feeding us lies, but we see through the smoke. We're the voice of the people, we're ready to provoke. They want us to divide, but we're stronger as one. Breaking chains, taking names, yeah, we getting it done. It's us versus the system, we're breaking the mold. This air, yeah, we taking control. No more silence, no more fear. Together we rise, let them know we're here. Riders ignite. In the world of division, they showed us how to share. But the weight of our sorrows, they never taught us to bear. We split our joys and laughter, but the pain remained untold. A burden we carry alone, a story left untold. They taught us to split everything, but not the heavy pain. It lingers in the shadows, a darkness we can't explain. We're left with shattered pieces, trying to mend what's lost. They taught us how to split everything, but not the heavy cost. We learned to divide our dreams and multiply our fears. But the ache in our hearts only grew with passing years. They gave us all the answers, except how to heal. The scars that run so deep, wounds that time can't see. Yeah, they taught us how to share, but only the good. But deep down inside, there's a storm we hide. Pain in our hearts, we're just trying to ride. Put on a mask, yeah, we play the part, but nobody sees the cracks in the hearts. We share our dreams, the highs and the lows, but when it comes to hurt, we just close the door to deflect the pain. Laughing in the sunshine, dancing in the rain, but the shadows linger, they creep and they crawl, breaking us down, but we don't share at all. We got hate in our hearts, but we can conceal. Talking, they say love was easy to divide, but the heartache never subsides. We try to split everything into two, but the pain lingers strong and true. Shared our dreams, divided our fears, but the sorrow remains through the years. No matter how we try to let go, the way deep to conceal. They said splitting up free, yet the pain lingers in you and me. In a world where rules are set in stone, the system's grip tightens, we're not alone. Bound by chains of injustice greed. Against the odds, we fight to be free. Mighty forces try to keep us down, but our spirits rise, refusing to drown. Defying norms, breaking through the mold. In this battle of wills, our story is told. As the clash continues day by day, we stand united, come what may. For in this world where rules don't apply, our strength and unity will never die. They try to silence our dreams, but we're loud and clear. With every step forward, conquering fear. They can't hold us back. We're the fire and the flame in this battle for freedom. We're all in the game. They say it's just a game, but we're playing for keeps. With the strength of the many, we're shattered elites. No more puppets on strings, we're cutting the ties. With our eyes on the prize, we're reaching for the skies. So let's stand together, let's break down the walls. In this fight for our future, we'll answer the calls. From the ashes, we'll rise like a storm. Riders ignite, it's us versus the system, and we're ready to fight. They built the walls, but we're digging tunnels. With every step we take, we're shaking their bundles. From the streets to the courts, we're raising our voice. In a world full of noise, we're making the choice. They want to keep us blind, but we see the light. Knowledge is power, and we're ready to fight. From the corners of the city to the halls of the state, where the heartbeat of the struggle can't afford to wait. It's us versus the system, we're breaking the mold. It's in the air, yeah, we're taking control. No more silence, no more fear. Together we rise, let them know we're here. Riders ignite. They taught us to split everything, but not the heavy pain. It lingers in the shadows, a darkness we can't explain. We're left with shattered pieces, trying to mend what's lost. They taught us how to split everything, but not the heavy cost. Now we stand here broken, searching for some light, hoping for a way out of this never-ending night. But through it all, we find strength in each other's embrace. Together we'll face tomorrow and find solace in this space. They say don't bring the drama, keep it all light. But every night I'm fighting these demons in sight. Whispers in my mind, yeah, they echo when they shout. While I'm smiling on the surface, I'm breaking without. We're sharing the laughter, but what's underneath? A battlefield of sorrow, a war with no peace. We're warriors in silence, but nobody knows how the pain that we carry just grows and it grows. In a world of lessons learned, they taught us how to stand and burn. But the scars we hide deep inside are the ones that never subside. We followed all the rules they made, but the emptiness never fades. Their wounds like knives, cutting through even wounds that always grew. They painted pictures of success, but couldn't fix what's left of us. Now we're left to bear the strain of the pain that lingers, never wanes. It's us versus the system. We're breaking the mold. That's in the air. Yeah, we're taking control. No more silence, no more fear. Together we rise. Let them know we're here. Riders ignite. So remember this moment. Remember this face. Remember this sound. We're the voice of the future, and we won't back down. In the face of oppression, we'll stand up tall. It's us versus the system.
Welcome to Billy, baby. Hey, what up, everybody? I hope all of y'all is having a blessed and humble morning. Continue to have a blessed and humble day. It's your shorty Racheal, and let me welcome all of y'all to the Writers for Life. Brings you the Let's Talk About It podcast. All right, listen. Today we're gonna dive down some rabbit holes. All right, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna learn. All right, some of y'all might know some of this. All right, some of y'all might not know. All right, but we're not here to sit here and I know history better than you. I know what really happened. You see where I'm coming from? Like, listen. Each one to each one. All right, now I've been hearing a lot of conversations about Philadelphia when the year started, right? When we entered 2026, I said we're going to start diving down these rabbit holes, right? People have been asking questions about Philly, certain things I didn't know, all right? And I'm not going to sit here and lie, all right? Shout out to Yaya, all right? Because she put the little thought in the back of my head, all right? And I've been like, damn, man, I really am in Philly. Like, let's start diving down some rabbit holes. Let's see what's real. Let's see what's not real. Even though I like doing this through the books on some real shit, but we're online. All right. So we're gonna look at and we're gonna review and react to some videos. All right. We're gonna see, how the city of Philadelphia, the grid is first. Then we're gonna dive down on the history. All right. We got a few videos. All right, it's gonna take a few lives to get through these videos. But we definitely gonna learn some shit today. All right. Now, mind y'all, I don't just go by one video. All right. We always do a few lives. All right. And we react to different videos. All right. And we also compare this to what's in the actual history books. Right. Now, I got different types of history books on my shelves. All right. And if y'all been following me for a minute, y'all know that listen, I'm a history nerd. Right? I don't know what it is about history. It just draws my attention. I like diving down these rabbit holes. Man, fuck it. Call me Alice in Wonderland. I'm in this bitch chasing the goddamn little rabbit, trying to see where he at. All right. Blessings. We got Young Riaz in this John. Shout out to Young Riaz. Go check him out. Grand Rising to Uncle L, man. Big shout out to Uncle L. All right, that's my Philly brother right there. Listen. Welcome to Philly, baby. But anyways, back on topic. All right. But on some real shit, right? Like people have been talking about Philadelphia, and I've had a few subscribers ask me, to talk about the bombings and a few serial killers and stuff like that from Philly. All right, and I was a little stuck, like, wait, what? We had bombings here in Philadelphia. I mean, I knew about the viruses and all that stuff, but goddamn, I didn't know about the bombings. All right. So listen, we learn something new every day. And I would love to hear your input. All right. Let's see how much Philadelphia has changed throughout history. Why was it, was it William Penn? I think it was William Penn, if I'm not mistaken, right? Why did William Penn decide, right, to sit here and make a blueprint of how Philadelphia was going to look like? You see where I'm coming from? What gave him the idea? You see, in Philadelphia, didn't belong to none of them. That's the funny part, right? Because after we get done watching these videos, right, we are going to go into, further back than when Philadelphia was created, when the, indigenous people was here in Philly. All right. So like I said, we're going to have some fun. We're not here to, bring anybody down, bash anybody, all right? We're just here, how can I say, connect the dots, all right? Learn some stuff ourselves. Some of you may already know some of this stuff. Some of you may not, all right? But with that being said, look, listen, man. Before we, dive down this rabbit hole, all right, I want to let a lot of y'all know, all right, this ain't the channel where we babysit egos. So listen, if you're easily bruised, if your ego gets, easily hurt, all right, if you're easily intimidated, or, you easily, how can I say, put labels on yourself, not knowing who people are talking about, this is not the channel for you. So I suggest, you exit left. Make sure the doorknob doesn't hit you with a good Lord split you. All right. Because on this bitch, all right, we are not babysitting no one's egos. Because I'm sure as hell not a priest, a therapist, all right, a teacher, and no one's mom. All right. And I'm not God. So with that being said and out the way, all right, let's get this joint started. All right. Listen. For a while already, like I've been saying this for years, right? I want to, go on an adventure. I want to go on a little adventure in Philadelphia, explore the abandoned parts of Philadelphia. Like, why are certain parts of Philly abandoned? You see, why did certain buildings get abandoned? what happened in certain areas of Philadelphia that you're not allowed to enter. And it's crazy that me, doing some research, you actually got some people that are doing it. I'm saying, listen, I've had questions my whole life, especially riding the train underground in Philly, right? And I always wonder, I was like, yo, man, listen, y'all telling me that there's no people allowed in this bitch, but every day you see graffiti on this joint, right? You see food on the railroad tracks. Listen, I can go in even deeper, right? But yet people want to tell you, even when I was a little kid, people want to tell you, listen, you're not allowed in these places, you can get in trouble. But I'm like, how is it? I'm like, people gotta be sleeping down. And watching these Jones, right? Watching these videos of the people, exploring the parts of Philadelphia that no one won't enter, right? Got me back in that little, how can I say? Got me in that feeling inside me woke back up, and I'm in here like, damn, I'm definitely about to do this, John. Watch when I get my camera, because I'm definitely about to order me a camera, and it's gonna be like back in the days, all right? I'm gonna be taking pictures of everything. I don't know what it is, all right? I love photography. I like taking videos. I like taking pictures, all right? But I don't like taking pictures of me or taking videos of me. As crazy as it sounds, right? But I wanna explore Philly on some real shit, and I think I'm definitely about I'm gonna do that. All right. I think one day we went on a little adventure. Where was we? Was it Penny Park that we was in? I don't know where the hell we was at. I know that I was walking to my job, and the little park there, John. The little park looked like a little forest, and I think we was chasing Thumper. All right, trying to see if we could find Bambi in this bitch here in Philly. All right. I've listened. We be having fun sometimes. It's been a minute since I've had some fun since I've had my car accident. All right. But I think it's time for me to pick myself up. Like, I want to do way more than just reviews and reactions. All right, guys. And I love my city. All right. I know that Philly, they give Philly a bad representation, right? But if you really take a look at Philadelphia, all right, and stop, if you look beyond, all right, the people, you can see the resources that is in here, how beautiful, the land is, like the city is. You see where I'm coming from? Like, people are focused on the wrong things. Hey, but, to each one, hey, that's on them. Like, listen, I can't tell nobody how to think, what to think at the end of the day, right? This is how I feel. And I think that Philadelphia is a beautiful place. It's just the people in Philly, yo, I don't get tired of saying it, right? I wake up sometimes, look, listen, I love my city, but I wake up sometimes, all right, like Homer Simpson, all right, choking Bart. That's how the people in Philly make me feel sometimes, all right? But the city is not bad, all right? But anyways, right? Enough of a shorty saying what she want to do, and let's dive down these videos. All right, like Philadelphia is a big, 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 big city. All right, there's a lot of things to explore in Philadelphia. Like in other cities, though, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. In other cities, there's a lot of things that people could explore. You see where I'm coming from? We got the beautiful Miss Chicago in the building. Blessings, blessings, Miss Chicago. How you doing this morning? So enough blabbing, right? And let's dive down these rabbit holes, right? Enough blabbing, right? Now, this video right here is why Philadelphia is the opposite of every U.S. city, right? I don't know what it is about Philly, but I love my city, right? I wasn't born in Philly, like y'all heard in the lyrical poem, right? I was born in Ponce, Puerto Rico, right? And my mom went over there. Well, she was over there. She had me, right? And then she came back to Philadelphia, right? And this is where we've been our whole lives, all right? My whole life I've been in Philadelphia. Like, she gave birth to me over there and came back to Philly. Like, she was in Philly before she had me. I don't know what it is that Philadelphia drew her attention. All right. So listen, Philly is all I know. I've only visited Puerto Rico maybe once. Yeah, only once, and that, listen, it wasn't even a good experience. It was to bury the father of my kids. All right. But I don't really know of Puerto Rico, but the time I went there and the stories I've heard. Other than that, I don't know what PR is like. But Philadelphia's been my whole life. All right. And what's crazy is I've been stuck to I've been in one part of Philadelphia my whole life, right? and I've only explored certain parts of Philly. That's why ever since I was a kid, like I keep telling y'all, man, I've wanted to explore Philly, certain areas. And even listen, when I was little, I told people, I was like, well, listen, if the underground exists, right, where the trains are, there's got to be other areas of Philadelphia where there is an underground with no train tracks, right? And people think I'm crazy. No, man. It turns out that I was right. Right? I should have just went a little deeper. But when you're a kid, when you're a teenager, right, and you're hitting your early 20s, I don't think some of us think like that. You see where I'm coming from? Like, as crazy as it sounds, but we definitely about to, explore Philadelphia. All right. We supposed to be doing some walk-alongs and stuff like that, man. I need to take advantage of this. Me being able to get on the bus for free, yo. I'm not gonna sit here. I need to take advantage of that, right? And start exploring some shit. But I hate riding the bus. I prefer to ride my bike. But anyways, why Philadelphia is the opposite of every U.S. city. So we're going to take a look at the grid of Philadelphia and how it's opposite from. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and lie. All right. Philadelphia, to me, I went to Youngstown, Ohio. To me, it's not comfortable walking around. All right. It's like I hate places where you got to catch buses, all right, and get on a car. New York is the same shit. It is a long distance to get to certain places. All right. Reading is not that bad, but it's almost the same thing. But Philadelphia, right, in Pennsylvania, is one of the cities, right, where you can get to so many places at walking distance. You don't really got to catch the bus. You see where I'm coming from, right? But for those that, don't like to walk, yeah, the bus is there, the taxis are there, the train is there. But on some real shit, y'all seen me, all right? Y'all seen me walk from South Philly. Y'all been watching me for a while, right? Y'all seen me walk from South Philly to North Philadelphia, from Center City to North Philadelphia, all right? Philadelphia is one of the cities that I do know, all right, for a fact. All right, I've been to a few cities, not to a lot, that you can really walk around and get to the places that you need to get without actually getting on the bus. But that's me. That's my opinion. That's what I think, all right? A lot of people got their own opinions. I like to walk. I do not like to drive. I cannot drive a vehicle. I hate it. Right? Philadelphia is the worst place to me to be in a car driving. I'll ride a bike or I'll walk. Shit. But let's get this joint started. I've been saying that for a minute. Y'all gonna kill me.
Philadelphia, a city that feels completely different from almost every other city in the US. While much of urban America is defined by endless suburbs, wide roads, and car-oriented sprawl, Philadelphia looks almost like the opposite. Instead of miles of single-family homes, it is built on a grid layout and has one of the largest collections of row houses in the country. Instead of density concentrated only in downtown, its neighborhoods are tightly packed in every direction and still don't feel crowded. And unlike cities that were reshaped or grew around cars, most of Philly was built long before they even existed. In fact, Philadelphia is one of the only cities in the US where entire neighborhoods are walkable and built at a consistent medium density that you normally only see in older European cities. It also has one of the most extensive metro systems in the country, which makes it possible to get around the city without the need of a car. So, how did Philadelphia end up like this? And why does it feel like the opposite of the typical American city? To understand why Philadelphia looks the way it does, we have to start with its original design. Unlike most American cities, which grew haphazardly or were heavily reshaped in the mid-20th century, Philadelphia was carefully planned from the very beginning. It is one of the oldest cities in the country, founded as early as 1682 by William Penn, who wanted to
See, that's what I was saying earlier. William Penn was one of the first founders here in Philadelphia. Listen, guys, you don't gotta be here if y'all don't want to watch the video. All right. Listen, these are reviews and reactions. I gotta pause these videos. All right. So y'all can go watch these videos in totality, and it's in full yourselves. All right. Y'all don't gotta be here. I appreciate those that are in here, on this channel with me. All right. Reviewing and reacting, having conversations, civilized conversations with a shorty. But those of you that don't want to be here, you don't gotta be here. All right. You don't gotta be in the chat. All right. You don't gotta be a keyword warrior. All right. Trying to say here and deflect and how can I say spread and spew hate and all that bullshit. You don't gotta be here. All right. Y'all really don't. Y'all can exit left. You see where I'm coming from? If what we say here bothers you or offends y'all, y'all don't gotta be here. Like I said, I blocks people's very fast. Let me help y'all. Y'all need a therapist? Let me help y'all. This is the best way I can help y'all. Bye-bye. All right? That's simple.
Create what he called a green 1682. It is one of the oldest cities in the country, founded as early as 1682 by William Penn, who wanted to create what he called a green country town. His idea was a city built on an orderly grid, with compact blocks, walkable streets, and public squares spaced evenly throughout. This layout, simple, efficient, and surprisingly modern, became the foundation for everything that followed. However, in the beginning, what we know as Philadelphia was not a single unified city. It was a patchwork of separate districts, townships, and villages, each with its own streets, services, and government. This fragmented structure made citywide planning difficult, and neighborhoods developed in inconsistent ways.
And that's a fact. Listen, I don't listen. I'm talking now to the people that have been following me for a while. All right, and if y'all not here right now, when y'all catch the replay, man, if y'all can, leave your comments down below. All right, I don't know if y'all remember the live that I did when I first came into my mom's house, right? And then we started, taking the shit apart because it had some mold, right? And I took the newspapers that were in that wall, right? There were newspapers in there that were showing how Philadelphia looked before they started building these houses and stuff like that. And Philadelphia was beautiful. We had newspapers right in the walls that were showing the prices of what the food cost back in the day and stuff like that. So it is crazy, right? How I'm sitting here like, what made him think, right? Like, how did he picture all this shit? What was going through his mind, right? Like, people was actually surviving, thriving off the land here in Philadelphia. And people that think that you can't really grow, right, vegetables and fruits, I've shown y'all, right? I've sat here, right? The fucked up dirt that was in the yards, right? The two houses, the house that I was renting back then from the bull, and then my mom's house. You take out that old ass dirt, you put in that, you put in new soil in there, and you can grow vegetables and fruits. We've been to different gardens here in Philadelphia, and we've shown y'all that we can actually grow vegetables and fruits here in Philadelphia. You see where I'm coming from? But I'm just here thinking, right, when I started watching these videos, like what was going through William Penn's mind? Like, what made him think, or let me put it like this: what made him think that we was going to thrive anyways if he decided to chop down the trees? You see where I'm coming from? Cut the grass out and cover it with cement and all this stuff, build buildings on top of it and pollute the air. You see where I'm coming from? Like, what made him think we was going to thrive even more like that? Me personally, listening to the history and all that, we benefit from it, right? But the land thrives off, right? Without this brick, without these houses, without the gas polluting the air and stuff like that. As crazy as it sounds, we're supposed to be evolving. But it's like the more we build things to benefit us, the more we hurt this land. But maybe I'm tripping, all right? My bad. That was just a random thought that I had to put out there.
Things changed in 1854 with the Act of Consolidation, which merged the city with the surrounding townships and boroughs. This made it the second largest city in the country with over 500,000 people, and also meant that urban planning could finally happen on a citywide scale. Because the city had grown long before cars existed, its neighborhoods naturally developed around walking, street cars, and later on, early rail. As a result, most of the streets are very narrow compared to American standards. Row houses became the dominant building type because they were easy to build and used land efficiently, creating dense neighborhoods that still define most of Philadelphia today. As I mentioned earlier, one of the most crucial aspects.
He ain't lying though. And that's another thing that I've noticed, right, in these houses, right, when you're fixing the houses. I don't know if it's like this in other cities, right? Blessings, blessings. We on Lock Nation in the building, man. Happy New Year's, King. How you doing? Blessings, blessings. Welcome to the live, guys. Make sure y'all go check out We on Lock Nation. Great conversations, great topics, right? But back on topic. One thing that I've noticed in these houses, right, when you're fixing these houses in Philadelphia, I'm not sure is, that like certain areas are like mountain type, like hill type shit, right? But none of these houses are even on some real shit. It's like one area of the house is high and the other area of the house is low. You see where I'm coming from? And sometimes I wonder if it's that, because of what he's saying right here, it's not the first time I've heard someone say that, right? Because of the way Philadelphia was built. Some of these houses are not going to be even. And it's hard to get them even. And if you do, like, I've seen a lot of people have to do a lot of, like, how can I say, put a lot of cement under the houses and stuff like that, wood, all that, to level out the houses to make them even straight. Like, listen. That gets you to think, like, damn. It really does get you to think. That gets you to the theory that flat earth, round earth shit sometimes, but then that bores me. And it's like, man, look, listen, if we haven't been able to break that, John, how the hell do people even got the right measurements if we haven't been able to go outside of this earth? Like, come on, man, the moon theory has already been debunked. But anyways, let's get back on topic. Let's go back to Philly. All right, because I'm going to go all around the world trying to connect the dots. And trust me, I will.
That make Philly such a creating dense neighborhoods that still define most of Philadelphia today. As I mentioned earlier, one of the most crucial aspects that make Philly such a well-designed city is its walkability. It has actually been named the single most walkable city in the US for 3 years in a row, and it's much thanks to its grid layout. Now, there are many cities in the US that have grid designs, at least in their downtown area. However, very few of them function like Philly's. In Philly, the blocks are short, the streets connect smoothly, and the uniform structure makes the city easy to navigate even today. The grid is also very compact, which means you can walk further, access more neighborhoods, and reach more destinations without even needing a car. Compare this to the grid in a more car-oriented city like Houston. While Houston does clearly make an effort to densify with townhomes, multifamily, and mixed-use buildings, much of the space is still used very inefficiently. First of all, the streets are significantly wider than Philadelphia's, and large portions of the city are taken up parking lots and vacant land. Areas like the built space often includes a large number of warehouses, storage facilities, and gas stations, all of which contribute to a more spread out urban environment. This brings us to another point, which is the way that the land is used. Because unlike Houston, Philadelphia maintains a very consistent level of density across nearly the entire city.
Yeah.
The city is largely made up of the kind of housing that is often referred to as the missing middle.
But my question is, why is it that only Philadelphia is like that? Why when they built these other cities, right, like Houston and stuff like that are big, why didn't they think about making the same type of structure, walkable cities and stuff like that? What's the difference? And Texas is supposed to be bigger, so they have more, how can I say, structure, right? More land to build properties, houses and stuff like that, to make neighborhoods walkable and stuff like that. Why don't they do it? In Philadelphia, as I was learning the history, right, I learned that certain areas of Philadelphia had to be closed down because the land, the structure underneath it where they were building houses and stuff like that, were falling in, were caving in. You see where I'm coming from? That's why certain areas in Philadelphia, you're not allowed to go in. But shit, when we do go down these rabbit holes again, right, after we've done these videos, we're going to look at the people that entered the places in Philadelphia that you're not allowed to go into. Shit, they did it, so we don't do it. All right? So we're going to definitely dive down these rabbit holes. All right, guys? These things do make you think. Like, other cities are capable of doing it, so why don't they do it? You see where I'm coming from?
Largely made up of the kind of housing that is often referred to as the missing middle, because it is lacking in most American cities. As I mentioned before, row houses are the most common building form, but you'll also find corner shops on almost every street, duplexes, and small apartment buildings. And not just in the central areas, but throughout the whole city. This even density is exactly what allows the grid to function so well, because every neighborhood is built close together, walkable, and human-scaled. The grid doesn't just look organized, but also feels connected.
That's a fact. Listen, y'all remember when I went from North Philly to from South Philly to North Philly, how fast it was? It was in a matter of minutes walking. People thought it was going to take me an hour or so, 2 hours. No, man, I made it from South Philly to North Philly in a matter of 30 minutes walking. All right. From North Philly to Juniata, all right, from Hunting Park to Juniata, all right, in a matter of what, 15 minutes walking? No, less, if I'm not mistaken. What was it, like 9 minutes, 10 minutes? Probably. And that's because, what was I? Yeah, we was on a live talking shit. But anyways, right, all the places here in Philadelphia are at walking distance. You don't really got to catch a bus. You don't really got to catch a car or a train. All right, people just don't want to walk certain distances. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Certain places, yeah, it's going to take you maybe an hour to get to, all right? But you got to realize the distance, all right? You're not going to sit here and tell me that you're going to go from here, from Hunting Park to the stadium, you're going to make it there in 30 minutes walking. That's bullshit right there. All right. That's going to take you maybe an hour more walking to the fucking stadium or some real shit, depending on how you walk. But everything in Philadelphia is walkable distance. I noticed when I was in Youngstown, Ohio, it wasn't Reading. No, man. Where else did I go to? I went to New York. Shit is not at walkable distance in New York. You definitely need a freaking car in New York.
And even though the city is dense, it still incorporates plenty of greenery. Penn's original plan included 5 prominent public squares in order to create a healthy atmosphere and prevent overcrowding. One in each quadrant of the city, as well as one in the central square, which is now home to City Hall. The city is also home to the Fairmount Park system along the Schuylkill River, which, at over 9,200 acres, is the largest landscaped urban park in the world and nearly 10 times the size of Central Park. On top of that, Philadelphia's neighborhoods are full of tree-lined streets, smaller pocket parks, and squares. Another major reason that Philly stands out so much from most US cities has to do with its public transit. The city is served by SEPTA, and while people love to joke about it, the network itself is huge. It includes subways, elevated lines, trolleys, regional rail, and buses.
And listen, without SEPTA, Philadelphia will not function. All right. I want y'all to really listen to what I'm saying. Without SEPTA, Philadelphia will not function. All right. People will not be able to make it to work. They will not be able to make it to their schools, to the places they got to go to. All right. Listen, with SEPTA, you can get from Philly to New York. Whether you catch the bus or you catch the train. All right.
All overlapping and covering not just the city or county of Philadelphia itself, but also the Bucks, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery counties, which are all part of Greater Philadelphia. In fact, Philadelphia is one of only 3 US cities with a full-size rapid transit system that includes both subway and trolley lines operating in the same network. The average daily trips currently sits at around 750 to 800,000, which places it among the most used in the nation.
Yep.
SEPTA also leads the nation in daily ridership per $1 billion of operating budget, which effectively makes it the most cost-efficient major transit system in the country. Another thing that makes Philadelphia stand out is its housing market. For decades, Philly has been known as the affordable East Coast city. And even though prices have increased in recent years, it largely remains true. Currently, the median listing price sits at around $280,000, which is 36% lower than the national average. And no,
he's not lying. All right, I'm gonna rewind it so we can get right back on today. But listen, that's one of the reasons why I say I'm still gonna end up purchasing property here in Philadelphia. All right, like I'm going to do some in the urban, here where I'm from, but I definitely want to start, purchasing some land and some property in the outskirts of Philadelphia, all right, in the nicer neighborhoods and stuff like that. Like, listen, people don't understand. I've heard the prices of rent, right, in other cities, other states, and they are skyrocketing. Philadelphia, the prices are going up, yes, but at the end of the day, right, when it comes to um renting and leasing and all that, Philly is still cheaper than, how can I say, New York, Houston, other places. All right, I'm not even gonna say here. I'm not. I think Atlanta, Detroit, right, probably Ohio could be probably a little cheaper than Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken. But shit, Philly for me, man. I'm not leaving this place. Like out of Philly, nah. I might leave from the neighborhood I'm in, but I'm not leaving Philadelphia. What's the point? Like you've got so many resources here in Philly, and people don't even peep it. All right. The problem is that people are worried about the other people. Stop worrying about what's in someone else's pocket and worry about how you can, how can I say, make yourself come up.
It largely remains true. Currently, the median listing price sits at around $280,000, which is 36% lower than the national average, and nowhere near the median price in not just most major cities in the Northeast, but also places that are generally seen as more affordable, like Atlanta, Miami, or Houston. This largely has to do with its diverse housing stock. Many of the building types we see in Philly are cheaper to construct and use land efficiently and exist in huge numbers. This variety gives the housing market more flexibility and helps keep average prices from rising as fast as they have in many other places. All of this shows why Philadelphia feels so different from almost every other city in the US. Its thoughtful design, consistent density, abundant greenery, walkable streets, extensive transit system, and diverse, relatively affordable housing all work together to create a city that's both livable and resilient. Thank you.
That's some real shit, yo. Listen, I ain't gonna sit here and lie, man. I keep trying to tell people, man, Philadelphia is not bad. It mostly be the people in Philadelphia, all right? Like, we got so many resources out here. You know how many times I've gone live and I said it? Like, look, listen, if people could just keep up with their fronts, with with their community, all right, come together. It shouldn't have to take, all right, for a block captain to come out once, right? What is it? I think it's twice, if I'm not mistaken, maybe once every month starting July, to gather people up. Hey, let's start cleaning the block. Let's clean our alleys. All right. Let's get together and get Clip to come out here and pick up the trash. No, man. Listen, if you have a property, if you're renting, it is your job to keep the front of your property clean. The sanitation workers, right? I don't get tired of saying this shit too, because the same way that the how can I say, the members of the community, all right, could be, how can I say, shisty, all right, and shady sometimes, dirty as hell, trifling, all right. So are these sanitation workers, because I've seen them come through, all right, and stay here and grab these bags, and it may break in the street, right? And instead of grabbing that little shovel that they have with the broom to pick up the trash that broke, they leave that shit there. So listen, between the sanitation workers and the citizens, of every community, they need to get their shit together. All right. We need to make Philadelphia more beautiful. We need to stop talking shit and complaining and pointing fingers. Oh no, they gotta do this. They gotta do. Oh, it's not my job. Listen, we got heroin addicts everywhere, crack addicts everywhere. All right, I'm not even gonna say cocaine addicts, because I think those are the most sanest out of all of them, on some real shit. But listen, we got all types of addicts out here doing crazy shit. All right, we know that already. But that don't mean that we're not gonna sit here and keep our properties clean. Like, listen, Philadelphia is a beautiful place, but the people have this bitch dirty as shit. We can make our city look pretty, but we choose not to. We think that Mother Nature is going to do it every time she rains and a thunderstorm comes, and she's just going to clean the streets and throw that shit in the sewer. Y'all don't realize that this, all the, how can I say it? Let me ask y'all a question, right? I don't care what city y'all from, right? All the water that y'all drink is recycled water, but y'all keep dirty in the water, even more than what already is. Just shit. Y'all say Philadelphia is ugly because the people in Philadelphia is making Philadelphia ugly. So I agree with those that are, saying Philadelphia is ugly. Yes, because people have made it ugly. But Philadelphia itself, right, is beautiful, especially if we can keep it clean. But we can't seem to do that, all right? But let's dive down this next video, all right? Hold on 1 second. I don't know why it always do this. Oh, because I got the playlist on private.
This is Philadelphia, a city that
That's right. Give me 1 second. So we're about to go down the next video. I think the next video talks about what if I'm not mistaken. Oh, why am I computer lagging like this? Yep, in pin shadow. Alright. So now this video right here that we're about to go down, right? We're about to dive down. It's called In Pen Shadow, right? And it's about how Philadelphia got, created from 1680 to 1720, all right? Philadelphia, the Great Experiment, right? And it says, Philadelphia celebrates its founders more than any other, American city. But who exactly is William Penn? For many, he is a statue, atop of City Hall. But Penn's busy life reflected an era of chaotic upheaval and conflict. He is, man, let me go to the big screen, man, because I can't see this. He is at once a radical Quaker, political prisoner, visionary, city planner, absent landlord, damn, and a slaveholder. His ideals, contradictions, and ambitions cast a long shadow across American history. This installment of Philadelphia, the Great Experiment, explores what it means to live in Penn's shadow. I don't know if y'all can see the screen. Nope. Wait, can y'all see the screen? Nope. Wait, hold on. Let me share my screen real quick. Boom. Here we go. All right. So for those of y'all that didn't know, all right, William Penn is the one that came, that created the landscape of Philadelphia. He came up with the idea and much more. So let's dive down this rabbit hole. All right, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because I know some shit, but shit, I might learn something else today. All right. So let's play. I want to remind you guys, I do gotta pause this. All right, this is not my video, but shit, if y'all want to listen, if y'all want to have a conversation, y'all more than welcome. Just please keep it respectful.
As Europe's largest city recovers from plague and fire, the son of a war hero sits in a jail cell. Held captive in the Tower of London, William Penn dares to challenge the Church of England.
He's a young radical. He's the son of an admiral, a gentleman, a theologian, a man of reason. He's all these things, sometimes at the same time.
He's enraptured with Quaker ideas about human equality.
Yeah, that's crazy. Somebody that's not even from Philadelphia came and tried to conquer it. That's fucked up. But listen, my thing is, was William Penn the one that came and took over in Philadelphia, or was there someone before William Penn? He was the one that, did he make a deal with them, or did he sit here and kill them, unalive them? Hold up, wait a minute, because this is a little different from what I was taught.
And this gets him into some serious trouble with Quaker ideas.
All these things, sometimes at the same time.
He's enraptured with Quaker ideas about human equality, and this gets him into some serious trouble.
The only portrait we have of him is wearing armor. Good Quaker isn't supposed to do a thing like that.
Hold up, so nobody knows what William Penn really looks like? They just have a portrait of him wearing armor? So hold up, wait a minute. But they had cameras in the 1600s, didn't they? I think they did. Hold up, wait a minute. Was it just photography? Didn't they have already cameras in the 1600s? No, I'm tripping. I don't think they came up with it. You know what? Let's continue.
In time, the young rebel will make a city, and his city will be the seed of a nation. For much of the 1600s, the English live in fear of constant warfare and disease. Both traumas mark young William Penn. From childhood, he wears a wig to hide the scars of smallpox.
Oh shit, that was a wig he was wearing, huh? Damn. So men were wearing wigs back in the day, way before men started wearing wigs now? Damn.
His father, Admiral Penn, is an ally of King Charles II.
His son didn't join
Hold up, were all the men wearing wigs back in the day?
in the Anglican Church and be a good boy. His father was very unhappy with his son's nonconformity.
He's an outsider in his own home and an outsider in the larger English establishment. He takes up with other people who think as he does. This cadre of avant-garde thinkers call themselves Philadelphians and gives him a sense that he's not crazy.
Angered by his son's disobedience, Admiral Penn sends William on a tour of France and Italy. William is not impressed. He recoils at the misery and suffering surrounding the opulent palaces, the frivolous playground of his own social class.
He's seen London, which burned in 1666. He's seen Paris and the extraordinary inequality of wealth, the salaciousness of the court, and the ridiculousness of pretension, and all those things rung untrue to him and wrong to him.
He imagines what he can do to mend the world. He sees plainly dressed preachers roaming the countryside, railing against war and material wealth. Inspired, William joins their fledgling movement, the Religious Society of Friends, or Quakers. Together, they boldly challenge.
Hold up, wait a minute. The Quakers were a society in the 1600s? False or true? Oh, good. So we gotta do some more history on our, oatmeal. Man, hold on one second. I gotta take this call.
Challenge the Church of England and face a violent backlash from the British government.
He's converted. He's preaching in the streets, and pretty soon he finds himself in jail for his association with these rabble-rousers.
William Penn writes a number of what are called subversive tracts, criticizing long-standing religion.
He's testing the limits of society. Trial by jury, no established church, a government of laws, not men. He tells the king he will not retract at all, even if the prison is his grave.
William's commitment eventually impresses even his father. Near death, Admiral Penn buys his son's release from jail and petitions James, the Duke of York, to shield William from England's laws of religious persecution.
The king owed a huge debt to William Penn's father for services to the crown during the English-Dutch War. Charles II is not able to square the debt with Admiral Penn before, unfortunately, Admiral Penn passes away. So the debt has passed to William Penn.
Damn, everything's about a debt. You're telling me that William Penn started Philadelphia in a debt? Philadelphia was started because of what? Some type of debt that William Penn had with King Charles back in the 1600s? Well, there was King Charles back then.
The king chooses to repay the debt not with money, but with land. He offers Penn a colony in North America, 45,000 square miles on the west side of the Delaware River.
But how do you offer someone something that doesn't belong to you, that already belonged to someone else? Wow.
In the New World, the English settlements were poorly protected from the French to the north or the Spanish to the west. When William Penn volunteers, his services as a colony creator. What the king hears him saying is, I am volunteering to create a buffer zone, and I will populate it with Quakers.
William Penn had a dream. He called it a holy experiment. He was talking about founding a government the like of which didn't exist anywhere.
At age 36, Penn has secured a canvas for his utopian dream. He wants to call it Sylvania, Latin for woods. But the king insists upon naming the colony for William's father, Admiral Penn. The rebellious young Quaker is now one of the largest landholders in the British Empire, the absolute proprietor of Pennsylvania.
Yo, they all did the indigenous people dirty, man. Why I'm going to say that, when we're done these videos, we're going to dive into what Philadelphia looked like before William Penn turned it into, Pennsylvania looked like before William Penn turned it into Pennsylvania.
He arrives in his new territory on October 29th, 1682.
Lots of people came on those boats and they said, we're going to establish a utopia. Most of them didn't have the faintest idea what was necessary to have a functioning and successful city. William Penn did.
It is a clear and just thing, and my God, who has given it me through many difficulties, will, I believe, bless and make it the seed of a nation. William Penn, 1681.
Penn brings a vision for his capital, an enormous 10,000-acre city concentrated along the Delaware River. But there is not enough open land for such a large city.
Penn isn't the first to get here. There were Swedes here, Dutch, Finns, Native Americans. There is a robust population already here.
It was very difficult to figure out where to put the city and what that.
So he's saying that when Penn got here, there were already a mixture of natives in here. Oh, wow.
City would be like.
Penn sends Thomas Home, an experienced surveyor, to walk across the woods and meadows, marking future streets with his own steps. Home and Penn envision a new type of city, spacious enough to guard against the squalor of European capitals. They negotiate with Swedish farmers to buy their land.
Oh, wow.
Penn had experienced both the Great Fire of London and...
So where did the people, all right, they say that they negotiated to, with the Swedish people to buy their land. Where did these people go to?
Plague. His view was that if the city was built with enough green space, that a fire couldn't decimate it.
Holmes' plan transforms Penn's sprawling idea into a distinctive town of square blocks and wide streets.
There would be no dark alleyways, as in London or other European cities, where vice might flourish in the shadows. Oh no.
Thomas Home comes up with an orderly grid pattern.
Let's shout out. That's why alleyways are the way they are. Yo, listen, these alleyways are so they're not big. Some are, very few. But when you look at these alleyways, there's always 2 exits to them, right? But sometimes there's 3 exits, 4 exits. It kind of makes sense. How are the alleyways in London? Are they huge or something? I'm about to go down that rabbit hole.
It'll be the center square where City Hall is now. The city will go from river to river, from the Delaware to the Schuylkill.
And the grid becomes the pattern for American urban development up to the present day.
The principle of order, which is what Quakers were really about, is what resonates most.
When that map went back to London, people were moved by it. Europe was in disorder, wars and famine, overpopulation. All of these were push factors to get people to leave.
Penn names his city Philadelphia. He believes it will be a place that aspires to the Quaker ideal of brotherly love.
Brotherly love has its roots in the concept of liberty of conscience.
Yo, this shit is wild. So hold up, you're telling me that each one of them, what? They created Pennsylvania and each one took a city or something and it was theirs? They didn't even come to fight, they negotiated?
What you believe is your business. This is something altogether new in Western history.
This God-intoxicated man sees Pennsylvania as a chance to create Philadelphia, the New Jerusalem. On the other hand, it's also a place for Penn to make lots of money.
In advertisements, Penn entices buyers with a 3-part land deal: waterfront property in the city, parcels in the Liberty Lands north of town, and country farms in places like the Welsh Tract in Marionshire and Erdenheim in Springfield.
He's saying my city is going to have its own bank account, the agricultural hinterland. We're going to be not just a colonial extraction port, we're going to be a city.
Word of mouth traveled back across the ocean that the founders of the colony had in their minds the best interests of the colonists.
Pennsylvania, by what you call the Delaware River today, is the historic homeland of the Lenape people.
When William Penn arrived, Native Americans had already been dealing with Europeans on some level for over 100 years. But the scale was radically different. For the Lenape...
Okay, so that's what had me curious. So the other people, oh my God. Other mofos, all right, had already taken over the land. That's what had me curious. Like, wait a minute. So the Native Americans already had a deal with other colonizers with the city. So William Penn wasn't even the first founder.
This represented a greater threat because a larger group of people would require more land.
Penn and his agents seek out Lenape chiefs in late 1682. They claim to want a peaceful partnership.
William Penn learned our language and sought to follow our ceremonies when meeting with us.
Oh, the bulls from a tribe. Oh, snap. But I would like to hear this from somebody that's actually, from Philadelphia, that has family here in Philadelphia. Is what they're saying in this video true compared to other videos? All right.
Even though he had the backing of a great force, the British Empire, he sat with our leaders and worked out an understanding where the intention was that we would live together in peace in Philadelphia.
I desire to enjoy the land with your love and consent, that we may always live together as neighbors and friends, not devour and destroy one another, but live soberly and kindly together in the world.
The Lenape had the potential to disrupt his colony, to make settlement there unappealing to people who Penn was recruiting from Europe.
When Penn was setting up the city, he explicitly said, I don't want garrisons and I don't want walls.
By creating friendly mutuality with the Lenape, William Penn spares the colony.
But I know that the Lenapes wasn't the only natives here. So all the natives agree to make these deals, or were certain ones forced into making these deals?
In the city, the cost of building a defensive perimeter. The things that Boston, New York, Virginia have to do, Philadelphia does not have to do.
Penn buys land from the Lenape in a deal that has come to be known as Penn's Treaty.
That treaty is the subject of a lot of historical myth-making. It's painted long after Penn is dead by Benjamin West. It gets reproduced on china patterns, dish towels, beer mugs. It's everywhere. It represents the road not taken for the rest of America. As Americans are marching west and decimating Native American populations, Americans look back at Penn and say, could it have been different?
The Lenape had expectations that this was the dawn of a new era of peace. And that turned out to not be true fairly quickly thereafter.
As hundreds of buildings suddenly appear in what had always been Lenape woods, the chief, Ninichikan, suspects that Penn has cheated him. he tells an English settler, William Penn shall be my brother no more.
Oh, shit. Was there a
When
war?
you've convinced yourself that you are good, it baffles the daylights out of you. Why? People balk. William Penn is a man who wants to exercise control, but control is constantly eluding him.
Just 2 years after Penn begins his ambitious experiment, Lord Baltimore of Maryland claims he owns portions of Pennsylvania, forcing Penn to return to England to defend his right to the land. He joins the inner circle of his old ally, the Duke of York, now King James II.
In the court of the king, Penn becomes the strong advocate of religious toleration. There's no reason to come back to small little Philadelphia if you can help it.
I can't. He said there's no reason for you to come back to small little Philadelphia. You know, this little old ass looking guy. What the fuck is wrong with him? But then there was about to be a whole war brewing between these two. See, he didn't do his research, but still, man, I know there was more than the Lenapes here in Philadelphia. Now, hearing that, there was way more. Man. Blessings, Easy. We got Easy in the building. How you doing? How you doing this morning? But, yo, this shit is wild. They should have just left it alone. People was just thriving, man. Only, sit here and, become the architect of something that's actually needed. But I guess.
Govern England.
Penn was 3,000 miles away. So whether he likes it or not, his own settlers make a hash of what he expected things to be.
They didn't spread evenly across the landscape between the Delaware and Schuylkill rivers. No, what they did is they crowded close to the Delaware River. They cut little alleyways into the alleyways and created a very different kind of world than the one that Penn imagined.
The capital city comes to life as the streets crowd with carpenters and merchants, brewers and brickmakers.
There was an early investor in that colony, George Guest, who was given land to create a brickyard, and it lasted for a while.
Man, people was wilding way before we was wilding. See, they were the first example. And when was this? All up in the 1600s. You see that? They was already disobeying, not following rules. Shit. In my opinion, if he would have left shit alone, I think Philly would have been better off. But he decided to do all this. I'm not going to sit here and lie, though. What he did made everything walkable distance, though. All right, made it a whole lot easier for us, all right, now in the 2000s on some real shit. But sometimes I wonder how things would have been if he would have just left things alone.
But he dies.
Guest's widow, Alice, has to pick up the pieces. She appeals to the merchants and craftsmen along the river. The growing city needs places for people to come together and exchange information and
You see, there was women leading in the 1600s, and we was told that women was not leading in the 1600s. When her man died, she took over. See? Man, some people just...
ideas. Alice Guest will open a tavern, the Crooked Billet.
Her tavern becomes part of the fabric of the life of William Penn's capital city. It was all centered around the life of the river. And she becomes a rather wealthy woman, one of the first sort of self-made female entrepreneurs in Philadelphia.
By 1693, there are 20 taverns in Philadelphia. Some of them operate illegally in makeshift caves along the banks of the Delaware, magnets for drunkenness and vice.
Instead of this being a cooperative.
I gotta pause this shit. No, they didn't. That lady needs to be charged with neglect. Hold on.
In makeshift caves along the banks of the Delaware, magnets for drunkenness and vice.
Hold up, wait a minute. Oh no, lady, you need to be charged with neglect. What the fuck? That's an old man. Was he chewing on a bone like he a dog? What in the world? Yo, their imagination was wild back then. But then again, these are pictures of how they was, of the people. Well, you know what? Listen, the artist had a wild imagination.
Instead of this being a cooperative, inward-looking community, obedient to to the inner light. Instead, you get a lot of foreigners, Germans, Mennonites, Schwenkfelders, people who haven't got the slightest interest in Quakerism and who don't give a wet slap for William Penn's principles.
What the fuck? I mean, my bad. What in the world is a wet slap? Can you just say a wet slap? Hold on, wait a minute.
Frankfelders, people who haven't got the slightest interest in Quakerism and who don't give a wet slap for William Penn's principles.
Dude, what in the world is a wet slap? You mean people that don't give a crap?
This was a major port, and lots of business came through the city of Philadelphia. That included China, gold, silver, and of course, the dreaded human being.
In 1684, less than 2 years after the founding of Philadelphia, 150 enslaved Africans arrived to be sold at auction.
Many people look at Philadelphia and they think of freedom. They think of liberty.
This is wild. This is crazy. So, and what's crazy, this shows you, right, that before all this started happening, right, there were indigenous people here in Philadelphia. So not everybody in Philadelphia was a slave, like people keep saying. And this right here, this video, I mean, it's constantly shown through a lot of videos. All right, it's constantly shown in the books. All right, Native Americans in Philadelphia were not actual slaves. And even on this video, they were saying like they made deals with colonizers. You see where I'm coming from? With parts of the land. And I need to go a little deeper before I even put that thought out there. But this right here just shows you. So this, when was this? Like maybe in 1880 something, in the mid 1680s. What year did they start bringing slaves from Africa into Pennsylvania?
The Quakers were some of the biggest financiers of the slave trade. William Penn owned slaves.
Is it a question of simply being a man of his times? Does that spiritual equality not embrace everyone? Do the civil liberties that he's working towards not embrace them all?
These questions haunt the holy experiment. By 1693, there are hundreds of slaves in Philadelphia. They socialize in the city's public squares. But that year, the governing committee issues an order. Any slave found in public without the master's permission will be publicly whipped with 39 lashes.
Over time, issues of wealth, greed, often displaced the founding principles of sharing.
So basically, William Penn wanted to build Philadelphia to bring his slaves in other words. And people are praising him.
Tolerance and of communal engagement.
The Quakers come to make money, and slavery goes right along with it. And eventually you have to decide whether or not money.
You said slaves go right along with it. They have no choice. What the hell?
Is more important than ethical purity.
While William Penn remains absent from his colony, Francis Daniel Pastorius, the founder of Germantown, assumes the moral authority.
When Pastorius gets here, he wonders, what are these Quakers doing? These are Quakers who are supposed to be imagining that all human beings are equal, and yet they're holding slaves? This doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I definitely don't get that shit. He made Philadelphia to bring slaves in. Like, that was his vision? And it's crazy, right? This is not the only video that proves that in Pennsylvania, there were already indigenous people. There were people that were not slaves, all right? People keep thinking that, oh, everybody got brought in here, you know, in chains. No. All right? Black and brown people, all right, have ancestors that were already here living in Philadelphia before William Penn and everybody else came in and bought the the slaves and everything else into Pennsylvania and made it into Pennsylvania. All right, I'm glad the way he put this video. I mean, I like the way he put this video, and I'm glad he did it like this. All right, it just shows, all right, people that they need to do some more research. Right, that's the nicest way I'm gonna say it. Right.
Pastorius sees hypocrisy in Quaker slaveholders. He insists, above all else, that slavery is evil.
Pastorius says to Philadelphia friends, in Germany we don't make slaves of people you do here, and you make slaves of people on the basis of race. That's not a Christian thing to do.
He recruits fellow German immigrants to sign the Germantown Quaker Petition against slavery, the first abolitionist document in North America.
It's a Quaker city, Philadelphia, certainly, but it opens the doors for religious freedom that now is enjoyed throughout the country.
What Penn did was to create the most diverse city in the colonies.
Penn's absolute authority protects religious dissidents from English law, turning Philadelphia into a haven for seekers and outcasts. Among the most radical of the new arrivals is Johannes Kelpius, a mystic philosopher from Transylvania.
Kelpius.
Transylvania. So they're gonna call this mofo a vampire?
He's one of the early benefactors of William Penn's great experiment for religious freedom. He and his Society of the Woman in the Wilderness came to the Wissahickon to ride out the end of days.
Kelpius and his flock build caves in the woods around Germantown and proclaim that the world will end in 1694, a lifestyle that would be heretical in any.
A false philosopher, man, because we still here. We just entered 2026. The world ain't ended yet. They say that every here and then, and the world ain't end yet.
Any other colony.
Kelpius believed that bringing together a community of very devout, pious, celibate, and even vegetarian in some cases would hasten the pace at which the end of time would come. They built the first observatory in North America on the roof of their tabernacle, and they looked at the stars every night to read the signs of the coming of the Lord.
As Kelpius and his followers hide from society, a fiery evangelist named George Keith attacks it. Like Pastorius, Keith sees the Quaker merchants around him as morally adrift and greedy.
He will not keep his mouth shut. At one point, it turns to physical violence, and the Keithians try to take over the Quaker meeting house. It's barred against them, padlocked, and they come with axes, and they beat down the doors, trample inside.
This divides Philadelphia society for the next 20 years, and some of the Keithian advocates will later end up members of Christ Church, Anglican, or Baptist, or Mennonite.
The balance of power tips away from a Quaker colony.
After a 15-year absence, Penn returns to Philadelphia in 1699 with his wife, Hannah Callowhill Penn. But they find a city stunningly transformed and the founders' authority compromised.
Pennsylvania bolts away from the leash on which William Penn wants to keep it and develops in its own fashion.
We are looking at a lawless city. We had the highest incarceration rate of any American colonial city, higher than Boston, higher than New York. They couldn't believe the kind of deviant behavior they saw in the streets.
In 1701, Philadelphia's assembly protests.
So basically, right, in this world, William Penn is the creator of all chaos. Damn.
Penn's absolute control. He seeks a compromise and drafts a charter of privileges, establishing the first democratically elected legislature in North America. He signs this charter just as he sails away, never to return.
They were making bills before they were presidents. Damn. There was no Congress, none of that. And they were out here making bills and all that shit.
What that charter sets out is a set of basic rights of citizenship. Thomas Jefferson famously wrote that William Penn was the greatest lawgiver that the world had ever seen.
Yeah, but he wrote a law on a city that he took over that never belonged to him. But he didn't really take over because he bought it from the people that were there. Well, he bought parts of it. But my thing is, the people he bought it from didn't belong. Some of them did, others didn't. That shit is crazy. But yeah, he made, well, yeah, because if he bought it, he owns it now, right? Yeah. Makes sense.
Back in England, a series of strokes leaves Penn debilitated. Hannah Penn will take over the Pennsylvania government and run the colony for 13 years.
When disasters struck one after the other, deaths, court cases, a stroke, there wasn't anyone else to take over except Hannah. She'd been raised in a business household. She had some sense of executive skill that William Penn never really had.
Oh shit, she just chumped him right there. She threw a shot at him right there. Damn, she said that his wife could do certain things better than what he could. And I mean, in cases like that, it happens. But I want to point something out. This was in the 1600s where they said that women could never lead, right? Women wasn't allowed to, even have a say-so. But yet, here in Pennsylvania, the woman ran a country before there was even a president, a mayor, a senator, a governor, before politics came about. Who ran the country? I mean, not the country, the state of Pennsylvania.
It was no small satisfaction to me in seeing the people prosper and growing up to a flourishing country, blessed with liberty, ease, and plenty. But alas, the many combats I have engaged in, the great pains and incredible expense sink me into sorrow.
William Penn was, in a sense, a madman. He had risked everything. He'd spent time in jail. This is a man who, at certain times of his life, could walk into the royal court of England.
So we could see that, Trump ain't the first bad boy that's been in politics, huh?
And he was willing to risk all of it to create a place that would represent the Quaker ideals in the world.
Who founded New York City? Who founded Boston or Chicago? The answer is, I don't know. Nobody cares. That's the point. But this is still William Penn's town. And he sits up there and we walk around.
He said, nobody cares who found Chicago. Well, I mean, why would you say that? Like, then why would you even tell anybody about who found Pennsylvania? Like, would you think they cared? That was the dumbest shit to say right there. What the fuck? Wait a minute. Some people say the weirdest shit out their mouth.
Literally in his shadow.
I really don't think that there are any other cities that identify with their founder to such an extent that they would put a much larger than life statue of him atop their great municipal building. It's kind of funny and it's kind of perfect. It's so Philadelphian.
It's so Philadelphia.
He names his city for that future that he envisions, which both inspires and dogs Philadelphia throughout its history. It becomes a standard to shoot for, it becomes an identity, and it becomes a yardstick against which the city's inevitable shortcomings are consistently measured.
It doesn't just mean city of brotherly love. Nobody knew during Penn's lifetime that religious freedom would come to be the norm. Nobody knew in Penn's lifetime that democracy.
Y'all keep saying religious freedom, right? When this man brought slaves into Pennsylvania, talking about equality for all humans, He may have done some things that benefited us, all right, in the future. Okay, I'll give it to him. But that don't take the fact away that this man sat here and took people from, you know, their place, or from their country, from their homes, from their families, to enslave them in a whole nother place that they're not from, to create a vision that he had in his head. So this country was built on the backs of the indigenous people that was here and the slaves that were bought from other places. As crazy as it sounds, but that's the reality. And there's people saying, well, only slaves were bought over here. No, man. Indigenous people already owned lands here.
Would come to be the norm. Philadelphia means a better world.
When Penn dies in 1718, Philadelphia is the fastest growing city in North America. His holy experiment has nearly bankrupted him, yet he has set an extraordinary place in motion.
There's so many things that we're going to learn diving down these rabbit holes, all right? Some things we already know, all right? But I want to learn every little part of, you know, the history of the city that I live in, right? Like some of y'all do, right? I mean, like I told you, I want to take it a little different this year, all right? So we definitely going to be diving down these rabbit holes, all right? This week, we're starting off with Philadelphia, all right? Then we'll go back into, you know, the history of our ancestors for another week. But, you know, this week I want to just dive down the history of Philadelphia, all right? We're going to learn some shit, all right? We might go down memory lane, all right, as we diving down these videos. Because, you know, pretty soon we're going to get into the history, you know, heading towards the 2000s and stuff like that. But anyways, guys, man, that's all the time that I got right now for y'all, man. Let us surely know what y'all think, how y'all feel about these videos that we reviewed and reacted to today, all right? Do y'all believe that some of the stuff that was said was cap? If y'all been here in Philadelphia, right, y'all got, you know, ancestors that are from Pennsylvania, right? Were some of the stuff that was said cap, or was it, you know, fully true that the indigenous people that, you know, did the indigenous people that were living here around that time actually give over some of that, you know, actually willingly sell their land, or was it forcibly taken from them? You see where I'm coming from? So I would love to hear the history from those that got, you know, ancestors here. But right now, I got to get off this, John, because I'm trying to deal with the pain in my back, and I got to get to work at 3 o'clock, man, and this joint is killing me. So since I got to do it naturally, I'm going to get off this live, all right? And we're going to do part 2 later on tonight. I appreciate those that are, you know, doing this journey with me, man, because listen, I can't wait to, like I told y'all, man, when I'm able to do it, when I get my camera, we're going to do it, man. We're in 2026. Listen, as Shorty has accomplished so many things throughout these years. Y'all have seen me, you know, fall down and pick myself back up. All right. And I appreciate those that have been in my journey, those that have been there when I've, you know, sat here and I started this. All right. I started my goals. You know, some of them I'm still on, but I've accomplished so many since we've started, you know, doing lives here on YouTube and stuff like that, and on Facebook. So I appreciate those that have been with a Shorty rocking out. All right. Been very supportive, leaving comments, sharing videos, all right, having conversations with me. Those that have patience when I don't, you know, pop up when I'm supposed to pop up. All right, I appreciate that, man. Because listen, without y'all, Shorty wouldn't have made it this far. I got a schedule when we're going to do the giveaways. All right, so when I do schedule the live, y'all will know when we will be doing the giveaways. But for right now, I gotta get off this drum, man. And I appreciate y'all, Mr. Oates, man. We got the return of Mr. Oates in the chat. Man, listen, when I come on later on tonight, hopefully we see Mr. Oates, man. But man, we out, y'all, man, for real. Cause listen, I ain't taking no medication for this shit. I gotta deal with this shit. So we out. I'll be back later.